Have you ever felt like something was watching you in the woods? Not just the occasional rustle of leaves or a passing breeze, but something else? A presence you couldn't quite explain. One that felt ancient, heavy, and terribly, unimaginably hungry? A creeping weight in the atmosphere that made the hair on your arms stand up even though the wind had died down. Tonight, we'll take you on a chilling journey deep into one of the most haunting legends ever whispered across the flickering glow of campfires and preserved in the icy, shadowy depths of North America's frozen wilderness. The terrifying tale of the Wendigo. The Wendigo is far from an ordinary monster. Its roots stretch back into the sacred and complex folklore of the Algonquian-speaking peoples, some of the oldest and most resilient indigenous cultures across the northern expanse of North America. Over many generations, tribes such as the Aituin, Ojibwa, Cree, and Innu have shared deeply cautionary tales of a malevolent spirit, a being unlike any other, driven by an endless, insatiable hunger. A creature born of desperation, freezing isolation, and the darkness that can infect even the most virtuous of hearts. It's said to haunt the vast, snow-covered forests that blanket the northern United States and reach into the remote, frost-bitten reaches of Canada, especially during the dead of winter, when resources are scarce and survival is no longer guaranteed. It is in these desolate moments that the Wendigo thrives. The word Wendigo is often translated as the evil spirit that devours mankind, but the reality is far more nuanced and chilling. It is not merely a name, it's a dire warning wrapped in myth, a cultural red flag pointing to the consequences of moral failure. In many versions of the story, the Wendigo was once a human being, like you or me. But when someone turned to cannibalism, whether through the twisted influence of greed or the dire pressures of starvation, their soul would rot away. The transformation that followed was horrifying. The person would become cursed, stripped of their humanity, and reborn as a Wendigo, a creature condemned to wander the earth in a state of constant ravenous hunger. No matter how much human flesh it consumes, the Wendigo is never full. It is an embodiment of endless consumption, of a void that can never be satisfied. Descriptions of the Wendigo vary by region and storyteller, but some elements remain disturbingly consistent. The creature is always described as towering, often standing over 10 feet tall, casting long, bone-thin shadows under the moonlight. Its body is skeletal and emaciated, as if it has starved for centuries, its skin stretched grotesquely over jagged bones. Some tales say the Wendigo's skin is ashen gray. Others claim it is pale and frostbitten, clinging to the corpse-like creature like parchment. Its eyes are deeply sunken, like bottomless voids, lifeless, but somehow always watching. Some accounts describe massive antlers or twisted rotting horns protruding from its skull, like those of a monstrous deer. And its mouth, always open, always grinning with rows of dagger-like teeth, drips with blood, saliva, or worse. It is the stuff of nightmares, a being that exists beyond reason. But perhaps the most terrifying thing about the Wendigo isn't how it looks, but what it represents. This monster is not just a predator lurking in the woods. It's a cultural embodiment of what happens when humans surrender their ethics to desperation, when hunger becomes an obsession, when greed trumps empathy. The Wendigo is a symbol of what we lose when we allow the coldest parts of ourselves to take over. It is, in essence, a cautionary tale, a monstrous reflection of the darkest impulses within humanity. Now, let's explore two of the most disturbing and memorable Wendigo encounters ever recorded. These are stories that continue to echo through generations, tales that blur the lines between legend and terrifying reality. Story 1. The hunter in Alberta. In the frigid winter of 1930, an experienced and well-respected hunter named Thomas McGraw embarked on what was meant to be a routine expedition into the deep wilderness of Alberta, Canada. He was no novice. McGraw had endured and thrived through countless harsh winters. But something about this journey was different. He never came back. A week later, worried family members and friends organized a search party. The group braved deep snow and sub-zero temperatures until they discovered what was left of his campsite. His tent was ripped apart, shredded as if by claws larger than any known predator. Deep, unnatural grooves, claw marks, scarred the surrounding trees. Footprints, enormous and inhuman, circled the site in erratic patterns. The snow had frozen red in places. All they found of Thomas was a pile of bones, clean, picked bare of flesh, with no signs of animal activity. His rifle was broken in half. A portable radio, miraculously intact, buzzed with constant static, as if frozen in time. Locals didn't ask questions. They only murmured one word among themselves: Wendigo. Story 2. The Rangers' watch in 1987. Deep in the isolated expanse of Minnesota's boundary waters, Park Ranger Eric Daniels began reporting strange occurrences in his official logs and private journal. At first, it was minor. Trees snapping in the distance, sudden winds that came and went without warning, the eerie sensation of being watched. But within weeks, the events grew more disturbing. Daniels documented hearing footsteps around his cabin in the dead of night. He heard whispers, his own name, echoing from beyond the tree line. He would catch movement in the shadows, but when he turned to look, there was nothing. His final journal entry, found later, was short but harrowing. It read, "I saw it tonight, watching from the trees, tall, wrong, so hungry." When a search team arrived several days later, the ranger station was deserted. The door was left ajar. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, no broken furniture, just absence. The only clue to Eric's fate was a single haunting message, scratched into the wooden wall above his bed in crude letters. "He walks between the trees. How to tell? If a Wendigo is near. So how can you tell if you're not alone in the woods?" Witnesses say the first sign is an unbearable stench, like decaying flesh mixed with burning wood and sulfur. Then the forest becomes eerily quiet. No birds, no wind, just a crushing, unnatural silence. And then footsteps. Slow, methodical crunches in the snow, circling you, drawing closer. If you hear a voice in the distance calling your name, a voice that sounds familiar but not quite right, do not respond. And whatever you do, never run in a straight line. The Wendigo is impossibly fast, and once it has chosen its prey, escape is nearly impossible. The deeper meaning of the legend. The Wendigo isn't just a terrifying creature of myth. It's a symbol, a dark allegory about what becomes of us when we abandon morality, when the need to survive outweighs compassion, when selfishness wins over community, when we forget our shared humanity, we risk becoming something monstrous. The Wendigo is that reminder, always lurking in the shadows of our decisions. So next, time you're out alone in the snowy woods and the wind howls just a bit too loud, and the silence between the trees feels too deep. Pause. If you feel that gaze from the shadows, if your breath comes out in a visible fog and refuses to disappear, if your instincts scream without reason, remember, you might not be alone. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you found this story as haunting as we did, please leave a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe for more bone-chilling tales from the edges of reality. Until next time, stay warm, stay alert, and whatever you do, don't answer the voice that calls your name. From the dark, this was a subliminal horror story. Good night, and beware the Wendigo.